Okay, welcome back. I know it's another double upload day. Now, Pocket Anime is officially closed, and I wanted to talk about Pocket Anime. This is essentially a post review of 3 weeks of Pocket Anime. Now, let's start off with the good. Genuinely, Pocket Anime was amazing. The developers did a genuine good job at showcasing the game, showcasing the progression that was been made from the 2024 version or Phase Test 1 to the 2025 version, Phase Test 2. Genuinely, they've proved themselves. They've shown that they are capable of making a good game. I don't want to sit here and praise the game again because I've already kind of done that in my previous video, the 100 hours in review or whatever. We know the game was good on the most part. If you are a fan of creature capture games, of Pokemon-esque games, Pocket Anime delivered. It did exactly what it needed to do, and it did it well. I think they were generous with the shiny rates. I enjoyed that. Capture rates were trash. We won't lie about that. The capture rates were actually dog shit. The battling was fun. PvP was fun on the most part as well. They added a lot to the storyline that was actually pretty engaging and interesting. Definitely can't wait for Lavender Woods when the game releases. The developers have stated there's going to be a whole bunch more animon during the release as well. So if you thought the jump from Phase Test 1 to Phase Test 2 was significant in terms of the animon added to the game, from Phase Test 2 to release, we should be having almost double that, if not triple that, according to the and yeah, was it worth the 25? If you bought it within that first week, you had to spare money. Again, I say spare, and if these words are generous words, because apparently I was aggressively marketing this game. I'm not too sure if we know what aggressive, but if you had to spare money and you bought it, hopefully you enjoyed. On the most part, I'm very sure I gave away over 50 giveaway slots. I gave away between 50 to 60, gave away a lot of giveaway slots. Let's just put it like that. I gave away over 50 giveaway slots. So hopefully if you're one of the people who got in the game through my giveaway slots, you enjoyed the game as well. Hopefully we have a solid, smooth summer release, and hopefully the game actually does come out in the summer like the developers promised it to. Now, let's talk about Pocket Anime, the things I feel like just needs improvement, because we could sit here and name all the good things and blah 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 over and over, but let's talk about things. Like, let's be real. Let's talk about the real here, and this information will hopefully help the developers future, and whilst the game is closed and whilst they're working on it, and we know they're going to be working on it. So yeah, let's do it. Let's get into it. Let's do it. Let's go. So there are many things great with Pocket Anime, many things wrong with Pocket Anime. Let's talk about one thing I had a very big error with: drop rates. Drop rates in Pocket Anime were atrocious. Now, I don't actually have a problem with rare animon spawning in that, you know, you just kind of need to farm the grass in order to actually get that animon, right? But I feel like the issue here is when you are trying to spawn in or encounter a rare animon, and you also need to get a drop from said animon that's already took you 15 minutes to spawn in once, sometimes even 30 minutes to spawn one, right? It's bad enough when you've, you know, taken a multitude of time to spawn in that animon once or even twice within a 30-minute time interval, and you kill that animon and it doesn't even drop you anything, yet alone what you need. That has to be the most infuriating thing in the world, and genuinely, gameplay like that slows down the flow of gameplay. You'll be progressing through the game, you'll be enjoying yourself, we need evolutionary materials, and that's fine, right? Kind of turns the game into what feels like a tower defense game, but again, it's fine. It's common practice that rare Pokemon, animon in this instance, would need you to kind of farm in order to encounter them. It's a common thing in Pokemon, right? But if I need to get a specific drop from an animon that spawns in once every 30, once every 20 minutes, if I'm lucky, right? Or if I'm unlucky, let's just say that, or if I'm unlucky and I kill that animon and it doesn't drop me anything, yet alone the material I need, because the material I need that drops from the rare animon is a 1% drop. What even is that? That isn't, it turns into like an RNG game. It turns into a simulator. It turns into a tower defense game. That ruins the flow of gameplay, of progression. Now, yes, if you're lucky, you're one of those people that encountered it the first time, killed it, and you got the drops you needed within the first hour you farmed farmed it. There are people who farmed, for instance, the Terror blocks or whatever it's called, the Earth block, that farmed Axe Hand Logan, and Axe Hand Logan spawns in. He's not frequent, but he's more frequent than Gara, for instance, right? I know people that had to farm like 4 Earth blocks. It took them like 12 hours plus. 12 hours for 4 items, for 4 draw. And this is just some people farmed it for days. And if you were super lucky, some people got it within the first hour or 2, right? Again, that super lucky is probably less than 1%. But the people who farmed hours on end, you know how off-putting that is? I for sure wasn't doing. I refused to do that, because it's one thing farming for, let's say, something like a shiny, and there's another thing farming for a drop that's just it's not guaranteed. Like, you could legitimately do it for a week straight and get like 1, because the drop percentage chance is so low. That is disgusting. It's off-putting, especially when you make it to a part of the game where you want to start building up your comp team. But I'm literally met with a soft lock. It almost feels like a soft lock to a certain degree, because this item is just not obtainable. It feels like it's not, at least. It shouldn't have to be that. It shouldn't have to be that. It's one thing, again, it's one thing farming for things that you need, like SVs, farming the right animals for SVs, farming the right animals for the traits. That's normal. It's another thing farming for materials in order to evolve, and those materials just feel impossible to get. Again, it's not even like I'm over exaggerating. There are people who have literally kept track of every encounter and every time they killed, for instance, Axe Hand Morgan or Axe Hand Logan, and have gotten nothing, or what drops they did get, how many hours it took them to. People literally had to set up AFK macros. People were tiny tasking. If it gets tedious to the point where people have to AFK farm it, it's not good game practice. Yes, it may be good for the developers in terms of premium payout, but it's not good for the game's longevity. It's not good in terms of keeping your players engaged and hooked on the game, because I don't want to have to AFK farm. I want to be able to farm, like, okay, for instance, it took me about 6 hours of farming Zoro, no, 6-7 hours of farming Zoro to get free sword style and decent SVs, and I was satisfied with that because I knew it was something I could do. But farming for a drop that's almost impossible to get, and it's taking you a day or 2 to even do it successfully, no, that's atrocious. It's not good. That is genuinely not good. Genuinely not good. And honestly, that is my main grips with Pocket Anime. This whole material farming, right? Again, I'm not saying it needs to drop 100% of the time. Like what they did with the factory, with the legendaries, they made the essences you needed, the warrior essence, a little bit easier to get after people started complaining about it. And it was manageable then, right? It was manageable then. To be honest, we're going to talk about the factory thing right now, but it became manageable because you could farm it outside of needing a warrior event, which actually made it manageable and obtainable and grindable. Yes, people still AFK'd it, which does actually hurt the game. Again, it was doable. So it made it way better than farming things like earth blocks and terror shards or and demon essence. There's not even any good. Okay, let's talk about the factory. And this is going to be a long yap session because these two things go hand in hand. Now, for the legendary event, I was genuinely thinking it was going to work something like how real Pokemon does it, where there's a small, or it's not small, it's usually tied in with the game, but there is a progression that involves the enemy team, or not enemy team, but like the enemy protagonist, Team Rocket, Team Galaxy, whatever it is in whatever game you're playing, right? So let's stick with Team Rocket. You have an encounter with them, there's a little mini storyline that progresses you through, and then at the end there's a situation where you encounter the legendary Pokemon, in this instance legendary Animon. I was thinking from the trailer, you progress through a storyline and then you encounter Cell, and through that cutscene you're able to, if it's not a shiny, you'll leave the game, it'll save where you just had, like where you just were, you go back in and you can keep resetting until you get a shiny version of that Cell. So you keep going through that cutscene, right? But no, this is you need to farm up materials for a a 0.5 chance of encountering Cell. It behaved like a gacha or a tower defense game or Souls RNG. It didn't behave like a gacha cap. And initially I was disappointed, right? But they added a pity system, and within that pity system, you would have to farm enough materials. So I think it was about 1,200 materials of whichever in order to farm 200 pity, and you could, you know, the pity was linked between the two legendaries, Broly and Cell. So essentially you only need 600 of each, and then you would encounter whichever one you wanted once you reach that 200 pity, and you could keep track of your pity. So it wasn't something where you could get scammed out of it unless you get super lucky and spawn it in before the pity reaches 200. Most people had to farm max pity. I know both instances where I ran into the legendary, I farmed max. So I was disappointed because if you were to leave during that cutscene, you would lose your encounter with that animon, and you would have to farm up 200 pity again. And for instance, or no, it's not even for instance, it's a fact that there are shiny versions of Broly and Cell in the game. So you have one chance of encountering a shiny version of that legend. Nobody's farming up 200 pity 1,000 times. Who's doing that? Again, it's taking away from the flow of gameplay, because instead of it being something natural, it turns into a Roblox mechanic. I feel like a lot of games, RPG Roblox games, turn things that shouldn't be gacha into gacha. And if you really wanted to keep it gacha, you should have left the pay to win in the game. Genuinely, the pay to win should have been left in the game. If you really wanted to do a tower defense gacha type of thing with the legendaries, you should have left the pay to win in the game, because the pay to win being taken out of the game just turned Pocket Anime into an AFK simulator. People to set up macros for this stuff. It takes away from the flow of gameplay. Either way, it takes away from the flow of gameplay. So to lose on both angles. The legendary system shouldn't be a gacha system. It should be something that ties to the flow of gameplay, a story-based thing that leads to encounters, how most Pokemon game do it. Or it could be a thing post game where you, after you beat the Elite Four or whatever the equivalent for that would be in this game, after you accumulate all the badges, beat the Elite Four, there's a secret area or a secret cave where you can encounter a certain legendary animon. And obviously that could still be the case in this game because we only got the first gym, so there's plenty of chances to add different ways of encountering. I'm speaking about the factory specifically. I think the factory was a terrible way to add legendaries into this game. There's so many more interesting ways it could have been done that was not turned into a gacha AFK farm simulator. So many different ways. But yeah, those are my main gripes. It ruined the main thing. The legendary stuff was pretty bad, I can't lie, but the main issue for me was the farming materials that were almost unobtainable to evolve my animon, because I needed them evolved for it to be significant in comp. But if I'm not farming 12 hours plus for drops, I was literally watching someone farm for these shards and materials. The first 5 times they killed them, they didn't get a single drop. That was in the space of an hour. Do you know how unmotivating that is? So yeah, excuse me if I still love Pocket Anime genuinely, but it put me off playing the game. That was genuinely a thing that put me off. Like, I'm not farming 12 hours for materials to evolve my anime. It's bad enough I need materials to evolve, which I actually do like the concept of it. You need certain requirements that need to be met, materials, battle victories, battling certain units, because it makes it lore accurate to evolve, right? That's actually a very smart idea. However, needing materials that are 0.5% chance of dropping from an animon you encounter once every 30 minutes is a terrible idea that completely ruins the flow of gameplay completely. And hopefully we see a tweak or a revision to that when the game releases. The factory thing, again, there's so many chances that can be changed, or because there's gonna be more than 2 legendary. The Pocket Anime has the infinite capacity for gameplay and for content. So there's going to be many more ways they can introduce legendaries and how to obtain legendaries into the game. So the factory is something that can be overlooked, but the material stuff cannot be overlooked, and that needs to be looked into. Anyways, still love Pocket Anime. The game was amazing. I enjoyed the 3 weeks heavily. It's just the material grind. After all the grinding I had already done to get to that point, the material grind really irritated me, and I didn't play for the last 4 days. For the last 4 days, I chose to not play because I'm not farming 12 hours to evolve my Gara. I'm not doing. So yeah, I'm gonna see you guys in the next one. Love and appreciate y'all. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Peace.